I stood in the doorway of the small guest room that had been mine for 5 years, holding a faded floral suitcase that smelled of old fabric and quiet nights. At 75, my hands were not shaking from age, they were shaking from the words that had just been spoken to me downstairs. Vanessa Bradford had said it while pouring champagne into tall crystal glasses. "We are putting you in a nursing home. You are too old to be useful." She did not lower her voice. She did not hesitate. She said it the way someone talks about throwing out an old couch. My son Ethan stood behind her, staring at the marble floor of the house I had helped him buy, the same floor I had cleaned on my knees when the movers left dirt behind. He did not look at me. He did not tell her to stop. "Mom, it is for the best," he muttered. "You will have people your age, activities. A nice place." A nice place. Downstairs I could hear laughter. Caterers were setting up for their New Year's Eve party. Music was playing. Vanessa had told me earlier that it would be adults only this year. I now understood what that meant. It meant me. I had been given a sandwich on a paper plate and told to eat in my room so I would not be in the way. I looked around that small space. My late husband's photo on the nightstand, my teaching certificates stacked in a drawer, the quilt my mother had sewn for me. This was all that was left of a life that had once been full. They did not want me here. And I suddenly realized something even worse. They had already decided. I was not being asked. I was being removed. So I closed my suitcase. And for the first time since my husband died, I chose myself. Before I became the quiet woman in the spare room, I was someone. My name was Lillian Bradford, and for 37 years I was a kindergarten teacher in a small public school just outside the city. I had spent my life tying shoes, wiping tears, teaching children how to read their first words and believe in themselves. I married young. My husband died young. That left me with a little boy and a lot of responsibility. Ethan was 5 when his father passed, and from that moment on it was just the two of us. I worked full-time during the day and tutored at night so he could have everything he needed. I packed his lunches, I helped with homework, I sat in metal folding chairs at every school play and baseball game. He was my whole world. When Ethan grew up, went to college and started his career, I was proud of him in a way only a mother can be. When he married Vanessa, I welcomed her with open arms. I thought I was gaining a daughter. After my husband died, Ethan told me I should not be alone. He said it made sense for us to live together. He and Vanessa were buying a big house in Silver Creek Estates, and he asked if I could sell my small home to help with the down payment. He said it would be our home, not just theirs. So I sold it, I gave him the money. I moved into their guest room, believing family meant safety. At first things were fine. I cooked, I cleaned, I helped with the boys when they were little. I felt useful. Then slowly something changed. Meals became separate. They ate in the dining room while I ate in my room. Vanessa would host friends and ask me to stay upstairs so I would not embarrass her. My things started disappearing. A sweater here, a book there. She said they were cluttering the house. The boys grew older and stopped wanting to hug me. Vanessa told them I was old-fashioned and awkward. Ethan became distant, busy, always tired. I learned to keep my voice low, to walk softly, to take up less space. Usefulness became my rent. If I cooked, if I cleaned, if I stayed out of the way, I was allowed to stay. I did not realize until that night how completely I had been erased. There was one thing Ethan and Vanessa never knew about me, one thing I had kept to myself for years, not out of greed, but out of instinct. My parents had left me a small cottage in a town called Maple Ridge when they passed away. It was 2 hours north, quiet and forgotten. I had not been there since their funeral. Life had moved on. Ethan had needed me. Then Vanessa had needed space. So I never mentioned it. Some part of me had known, even back then, that I should keep one thing that was mine, one place that could not be taken, redecorated, or turned into something I no longer recognized. I also had a small savings account, about $3,000, birthday checks from my late sister. A few dollars I had quietly put aside from my Social Security. Ethan did not know about that either. It was not much, but it was enough to start over. I packed only what I could carry: a few clothes, my mother's quilt, old photographs, a small wooden box that held my wedding ring, and the last card my husband ever gave me. The hardest part was the note. I did not write anything cruel, just the truth. I will not be a burden anymore. Please do not look for me. I left it on the bed and walked out of the house while Vanessa was arranging flowers for her party. No one saw me leave. No one tried to stop me. The bus station was almost empty. Cold fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, turning every face pale and tired. A digital clock on the wall blinked in red numbers: 10:12. The bus to Maple Ridge would not leave until 10:47. I sat on a hard plastic chair with my suitcase at my feet and stared at the floor. Most people were home with their families on New Year's Eve, laughing, eating, belonging. I had never felt so alone. At first I tried to stay quiet. I pressed my lips together and told myself not to cry. I had done that my whole life. Do not make a scene, do not be difficult, do not take up space. But something inside me finally broke. The tears came fast and heavy. My shoulders shook, my chest hurt. I was not just crying about tonight. I was crying about years of being invisible. Years of swallowing words. Years of telling myself that it was fine as long as my son was happy. I kept seeing Ethan as a little boy. The way he used to run into my arms after school. The way he once told me I was the strongest person he knew. Somewhere along the way, that boy had disappeared. "Maman, are you all right?" I looked up and saw a young woman standing in front of me. She wore hospital scrubs under her coat. Her hair was pulled back. Her eyes were kind. "I am fine," I said automatically. It was a lie. "You do not look fine. Can I sit with you?" She did not wait for an answer. She sat beside me like we had known each other for years. "My name is Mia. I am waiting for my bus too." Something about her voice made me feel safe, and once I started talking I could not stop. I told her everything. About Ethan, about Vanessa, about the nursing home, about being told I was too old to be useful, about selling my house and giving them the money, about eating alone in my room. I told her about the note, about Maple Ridge, about how I felt like I was being erased while I was still alive. Mia listened. She did not interrupt. She did not judge. She just held my hand while I cried. When I finished, she stood up. "I need to make a call," she said softly. I nodded, not really understanding why. She walked a few steps away and spoke into her phone in a low, urgent voice. "Had I found her? Yes, I am sure. She is here at the bus station." My heart skipped. Mia came back and sat beside me again. "Help is coming," she said. I did not know what that meant. But for the first time that night, I did not feel completely alone. I stared at Mia as she sat beside me, still holding my hand like she was afraid I might disappear if she let go. "What do you mean, help is coming?" I asked. My voice sounded small even to me. She smiled in a way that was both gentle and serious. "I know this is going to sound strange, but I need to ask you something first." I nodded. "Did you teach kindergarten a long time ago?" But the question caught me off guard. "Yes, I did. For almost 4 decades. Why? Did you ever have a student named Daniel Alvarez?" The name reached back through my memory like a hand. I saw a small classroom, tiny desks, crayons scattered across a table. "Daniel. Yes, I remember him. He was very bright." Mia's eyes filled with tears. "He is my father." I could not speak. "My father has been talking about you for my whole life," she continued. "The teacher who bought him shoes when his parents could not afford them. The teacher who made him feel like he mattered." I shook my head slowly. "I just helped a child who needed help." "You did more than that. You changed his life." Before I could ask anything else, the doors of the station opened. A tall man in a dark coat stepped inside. He looked around quickly, When his eyes met mine, he stopped. For a long moment we just stared at each other. Then he walked toward me. "Mrs. Bradford," he said softly, "it is really you." "Daniel," I whispered, "little Daniel." He knelt in front of me like I was still his teacher. "I have been looking for you for 45 years. And now, on the night I almost disappeared, someone who once needed me had come to find me." Seeing Daniel standing there pulled me back in time in a way I was not prepared for. I suddenly remembered a small boy sitting on the classroom rug, his knees pulled to his chest, his eyes focused so hard on his book that he barely noticed anything else around him. That was Daniel. Quiet, gentle, always trying. His shoes were too small. I noticed it first when he took them off during story time and winced when he put them back on. The soles were worn thin. There were holes in the sides. His winter coat was just as bad, barely warm enough for the cold mornings. His parents were immigrants, proud people, kind people. They worked long hours, but there was never quite enough money. They never asked for help, not once. Though I found another way. I went to a discount store after school one afternoon and bought him a new pair of shoes, then a warm coat. I added notebooks and pencils, because I knew he would need them too. I paid for it myself. I was not rich, but I could manage. The next day I told him they were donations from other families. I told him someone had extra. I told him it was no big deal. I still remember the way he looked at those shoes like they were made of gold. After that I started packing extra food in my lunch bag. I would give it to him and say I always made too much. He never questioned it. He just smiled and said thank you. I never thought of it as charity. I just thought it was what you did when you saw a child who needed something. When Daniel finished kindergarten, his family moved away. I never saw him again. Life went on. New students came, new years passed. I never imagined that a few small acts from a tired teacher would grow into something that could one day save me. But here he was now, no longer a small boy with worn shoes, but a grown man standing in front of me, looking at me like I had just given him everything all over again. Daniel stood in front of me like time had folded in on itself. I had taught thousands of children, but he remembered me as if I had only left his classroom yesterday. "You have no idea how long I have been searching for you," he said. "After college, after law school, every time I reached a milestone I tried to find you." I smiled sadly. "I moved after I retired. I sold my house. I did not think anyone would be looking." "I never stopped," he said. "I asked the school district. I hired investigators. I even created a small fund in your name for children who need supplies. I called it the Bradford Fund." I pressed my hand to my chest. "You named it after me. You changed my life, Lillian. You taught me that dignity mattered, that kindness was strength." Mia stepped beside him. "When I saw you crying here tonight," she said, "I knew. Dad has told me your story 100 times. I knew I had to ask." Daniel looked at me gently. "Mia told me what your son and his wife did to you tonight." My shame tried to rise, but he stopped it with one look. "No one gets to treat you like that, not ever." "I do not want trouble," I whispered. "I just wanted somewhere to go." "Then you will come with us," he said. "My wife is already preparing a room. You will be safe there." I shook my head. "I do not want to be a burden." "You were never a burden," he said firmly. "You were the reason I became who I am. Let me be your reason now." The bus to Maple Ridge pulled into the station. I looked at the flashing lights. For the first time in years, I had a choice. And I chose to follow the boy I once helped instead of running into the dark. Daniel's home was nothing like the cold marble house in Silver Creek. It was warm, soft lights glowed in every window. The front door opened before we even reached it. A woman with silver threaded through her dark hair stepped out and hurried toward us. "This must be Lillian," she said, pulling me into a hug. "I am Sophia. Welcome home." No one had said those words to me in years. Inside, the house smelled of real food and clean laundry, not the sharp artificial scent Vanessa loved. Children's drawings covered the refrigerator, family photos filled the walls. Mia's children ran into the room, Leo and Isabel. They stared at me with open curiosity. "So you are the teacher who saved Grandpa," Leo said. I laughed softly. "I just bought him shoes." Sophia set a bowl of soup in front of me. "Eat. You look like you have not been fed properly in a long time." And she was right. As I ate, I realized something simple and powerful. No one was rushing me, no one was annoyed by my presence, no one was asking me to stay out of the way. And at the table, Daniel watched me carefully. "You are safe here," he said. "No one will ever force you into anything again." Tears filled my eyes. For the first time in a very long time, I believed him. Later that night, after the children were asleep and the house had grown quiet, Daniel sat with me at the kitchen table. "Lillian," he said gently, "I need to talk to you about something important." I nodded, my hands wrapped around a warm mug. What Ethan and Vanessa did tonight was not just cruel. It was not just unkind. It was not legal. I looked at him confused. No one can put you in a nursing home without your consent, unless a court decides you are unable to make your own decisions. You are alert, you are healthy, you are fully capable of choosing where you live. My chest tightened. Then he asked me questions. "Did Ethan put your name on the house deed when you sold your home to help them buy it?" I did not know. "Does he control your bank account and social security payments?" "Yes." "Does Vanessa monitor what you spend?" "Yeah." Daniel wrote everything down. "Lillian," he said finally, "what you described fits a pattern called elder financial and emotional abuse." The word abuse felt heavy. You were isolated, your money was controlled, you were made to feel like a burden so you would not resist. I wanted to argue, to defend my son, but I could not. Daniel met my eyes. "I am not saying Ethan is a monster. I am saying he let someone turn you into something you never were." "What do you want me to do?" I asked quietly. "I want to protect you," he said, "but I cannot do that unless you allow me to." I took a long breath. For the first time in years, someone was asking me what I wanted. "I want to be safe." "Then that is what we will do." The next morning, Daniel sat across from me with a laptop open and a yellow legal pad beside him. "I am going to send your son and his wife a formal letter," he said. "It will ask for a full accounting of your money, and it will make it clear that you are represented by legal counsel." I stared at the blank screen. This felt final. "Will they be angry?" I asked. "Probably," he said calmly. "But anger is better than control." He typed slowly so I could follow every word. The letter was firm but respectful. It listed the money I had given them. It demanded records. It stated that any attempt to pressure or harass me would be documented. When he slid the screen toward me, my hands trembled. Reading it felt like seeing my life from the outside. All the small things I had accepted suddenly looked very wrong. "This is really happening," I whispered. "You are taking your life back," Daniel said. I thought about Ethan, about the little boy who used to bring me dandelions. "Send it," I said. Daniel clicked the button. And just like that, the silence that had trapped me for years was broken. The phone rang less than an hour after Daniel sent the letter. He put it on speaker and nodded at me. Ethan's voice came through sharp and tense. "Where is my mother?" Daniel answered calmly. "She is safe, and she is with people who respect her." "This is insane," Ethan snapped. "You cannot just take her away from us." Daniel replied evenly. "No one took her. She left." Ethan said, "Please, tell me what is going on." I leaned forward. "You know what is going on. You stood there while Vanessa told me I was too old to be useful." "That is not what she meant," he said quickly. "Then what did she mean?" Silence. Daniel spoke. "Did your mother agree to be placed in a nursing home?" "No, but we were going to explain it was better for her." "So you planned to decide her future without her consent?" Ethan's voice faltered. "We were trying to help." You were trying to get rid of me, I said. There is a difference. Mom, please, this lawyer is turning this into something it does not have to be. I am not turning anything into anything, Daniel said. I am simply asking questions. He spoke again. When was the last time you asked me if I was happy? Not if I was convenient, not if I was helpful. Happy. Ethan did not answer. I sold my home to help you. You never put my name on the house. You let Vanessa throw away my things. You let her talk about me like I was not there. Mom, I am sorry, he said weakly. Sorry for what? For how it happened. That is not an apology, I said. Daniel ended the call gently but firmly. You have 10 business days to provide the financial records, he told Ethan. Further communication will go through my office. The line went dead. I sat back, shaking. But for the first time, I had not been silent. 3 months later, I was standing in the kitchen of a small cottage in Maple Ridge, watching sunlight pour through brand new windows. The house had been quiet for years before Daniel found it. Now it was warm. Fresh paint on the walls, new appliances, a garden beginning to grow outside. I woke up every morning knowing this place was mine. I started volunteering at the local library, reading stories to children twice a week. Their laughter filled the room. It reminded me who I had always been. My neighbor brought me baked bread. People waved when I walked past. Daniel and Sophia came every Sunday with Mia and the children. Leo and Isabel called me Grandma Lillian now. I let them. I had my own bank account, my own keys, my own choices. I was not hiding in a spare room anymore. I was living. The financial records arrived the following week. Daniel went through them with me at the kitchen table. The truth was painful but clear. My $65,000 had gone into the down payment on Ethan and Vanessa's house. But my name was never added to the deed. My Social Security had been used for new furniture, vacations, private school tuition. Things I was never invited to enjoy. I felt foolish for trusting them. Daniel shook his head. You were not foolish, you were loving. There is a difference. A formal settlement followed. $78,000 was returned to me, my money plus interest. No apology came with it. But I no longer needed one. For the first time in years, my future was in my own hands. One quiet afternoon there was a knock at my door in Maple Ridge. When I opened it, Ethan stood there. He looked smaller than I remembered. Thinner. Tired. Hi, Mom, he said softly. We sat in the living room without speaking for a long moment. Vanessa left, he finally said. The house is being sold. The boys barely talk to me. I did not know what to say. I watched you disappear in our house, he said. And I told myself it was fine, that you were fine, but you were not. You were shrinking because of us. His voice broke. I am sorry, Mom. Not for how it happened, for what I did. I am sorry I took your money and did not protect you. I am sorry I let my wife humiliate you. I am sorry I stood there and said nothing when she called you useless. Tears slid down his face. I forgot who you were. I forgot who raised me. He told me he was teaching now, that he was in therapy. He listened. I will not let anyone make me small again, I said. I know, he replied, and I will not ask you to. We agreed to take things slowly. He left quietly. But something had changed. Today I stand in my kitchen in Maple Ridge looking out at a garden that is just beginning to bloom. For a long time I believed love meant enduring whatever people gave me, even when it hurt, even when it made me disappear. But I learned something important. Dignity is not something you earn by being useful, it is something you are born with. Being old does not make you disposable. Being quiet does not make you invisible. Being kind does not mean you deserve to be taken advantage of. Sometimes the people who try to put you away are the ones who are afraid of what you represent, a reminder of their own failures, their own lack of loyalty. And sometimes the smallest kindness you ever gave comes back decades later to save you when you need it most. If you were in my place, what would you have done? Would you have stayed quiet? Or would you have chosen yourself? Tell me in the comments where you are watching from and what part of this story stayed with you. If this story moved you, please like and share it with someone who needs to hear it. And do not forget to subscribe to The Art of Revenge for more stories about strength, boundaries, and quiet justice. Sometimes the people who try to throw you away are the ones who push you toward the life you were always meant to live.